Well, we got an IBM Wheelwriter 15 Series 2, and it won't power on. Today we're going to try and figure out why. So I think the first obvious step is to verify the power cord itself is actually working. So we'll turn our meter to 200 volt AC, and we'll plug this in. We'll see what we get through the problems in the cord. And there you go. Well, we can rule out the power cord. So we're going to take the top off and get inside, see if we can't figure out what's going on. Lift up here, and if you look down inside, right here, there's a tab. These two front ones you can pull out and lift up, but the same process is going to happen on the back one, and from the back ones you're going to have to take a screwdriver, come up the hole underneath on the inside, and pry forward and lift up. So we're going to do that front and back, and then we'll switch to the other side and do the same thing. There it goes. So this thing's pretty darn dirty, and the first thing I think we'll do is we'll take it and blow it out and clean it up a little so we can see better what we're working with. So we already verified the plug itself is functional. We want to find out where in the machine is the power getting to and where is the fault occurring. So we turn the unit on, and with the switch on, the power should be going through the input of the transformer and coming out the output of the transformer. We can find out by setting our meter to AC and checking the two output wires of the transformer, and we should have voltage here, which we do. Look at that, 26.8 volts. We should probably check to make sure the power is coming out of the power supply, and I notice there's a plus 5 volt and ground pins on this board right here. So I'm gonna use my multimeter and we'll check to see if we get across ground and the 5 volt pad there, we're getting 1.72 volts. That's not enough. So we verified the power supply is the problem. Even while disconnecting the entire power supply from everything else in the typewriter, we're getting incorrect voltages out of it. So right now we'll run a couple of tests very gingerly and carefully. Power's on. So DC, getting 35 volts across this capacitor. So to that point, I think we're good. But these smaller capacitors here, I believe, is where somewhere in the lower powered circuit is where the problem is, because this capacitor here, it's only got 0.7 of a volt across it, and that can't possibly be right. It's a 25 volt capacitor. Most likely something on here, the low side output has failed. So maybe we'll have to dig into this a little bit more and see if we can figure out a problem on the circuit board. All right, so upon further inspection of this power supply board, I noticed some black charring around the bottom of this particular capacitor, and look at the board, you can see it itself, same thing. So we're gonna pull this out, which we've already done, and hook it up to a capacitance tester and let's see what we get. No unknown or damaged part, okay.
3 weeks later.
Okay, so time has passed, it's a new day, and a lot of things happened. I didn't record it all, but here's what happened. The power supply we know was bad. We weren't getting 5 volts out the 5 volt rail. That's what we came to the conclusion of. This is a dual voltage power supply, 5 volts and 32 volts out. 32 volts out was working okay, but the 5 volts was not. But here's the thing, this is the 5 volt regulator chip essentially. This particular chip is an L4962. It actually was really hard to read, but I did eventually figure out what it was. Before I came to the conclusion that that chip was bad, I replaced some capacitors that were faulty here and here, and I actually changed this one too, but it didn't end up being that one was bad. These two definitely were, but it was still not producing 5 volts on the 5 volt rail. So after checking everything else possible I could on here and verifying that, to the best of my knowledge, they were working correctly, this is the only thing I could not verify was not defective. So we ordered it, put it in, and you missed all the fun because that's a pain in the butt to change, but nevertheless, that works. Well, we fixed it, and it puts out 5 volts on the 5 volt rail now. So now we're going to reassemble this thing, and let's see if the typewriter works.
This goes underneath, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure does.
goes.
Well, as you can see, my son decided to give it a proper welcome back from the grave. Thanks for watching.